All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, you see it on the screen here, we're going to be getting into some yellow decks. We're going to be looking at Enel and Dr. Vegapunk. Both of these are going to be in the OP-07 format. We're going to check out 3 games on the sim of Enel and 1 game of Dr. Vegapunk. The main focus of this video will definitely be about OP-07 Enel and how powerful it got in OP-07. Even with losing Reject, which was an extremely versatile yellow event, even after losing that, because it's been banned, it is still better than ever because of 2 cards that are coming out in OP-07 and EB-01. Let me move my face real quick. The card over here on the bottom right is called Rygo, or it's I think the technical translation is Kingdom Come. And then we have Ace over here on the far left. We'll talk about those as we get into the video. Okay, so you kind of know what you're getting into, and just to lay it out, because I did kind of write it out here on Notepad. First, we're going to be looking at Enel in the meta in OP-07. We're going to look at some games on the sim of Enel, one game on the sim of Vegapunk, and then we'll kind of analyze the decks at the very end. And we'll talk a little bit about Katakuri, by the way, too. We'll look at Katakuri in the West a little bit as well, and talk about why people are hopping over to Enel in OP-07. Okay, so real quick before we get into that, I do have to make one quick announcement. I finally have a Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I made them yesterday at the time of me recording this video, and they're pretty bare bones currently. Let me show you guys. This is what the Instagram is looking like currently, the Twitter or X, whatever they call it nowadays, and TikTok. I've just got like one thing on each page, so but expect me to update these daily at this point. I should have something on here at least. At least something new on each one of them daily, just like how I have a new video daily. But I will say this, full disclosure, full transparency, most of it will just be mimicking what I'm doing for that day on YouTube. Like I'll just kind of link my YouTube video in there, and I'll probably do a clip from it for TikTok. And yeah, you guys get what's going on there. Maybe for Instagram, it'll just be a link to it showing, like, for example, like the thumbnail, and then a link on the far right there you see. So nothing too special, but if you guys like Instagram, or you like TikTok, or you're on Instagram or X all the time, by all means, please drop me a follow if you get a chance, if you're interested. Okay, now let's hop into the deck analysis part of it. So Enel over in the East is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, first let's look at the West. Right now I'm on MoonlightTCG.com. If you go over to tournament results, OP-06, look at, these are the like 9 of some of the major tournaments that have happened so far, and look at this, 4 Katakuri lists, 2 Gekko Moria, 2 Sakazuki, 1 Whitebeard, a lot of good decks on here, but notice all the Katakuris. Katakuri is very strong right now, and if you want to try any of these decks out, by all means hop over to MoonlightTCG.com, click on this list right here by this guy named Timothy Merritt. This is like the most recent first place Katakuri list. And you can click to expand if you want to see what's going on in the deck. But if you actually want to try it, you can go to, I should have just hit this little thing up here. You see at the very top right, it's got this way to go to details and then the bigger images or expanded view. But you can just copy it to the sim down here at the bottom left and just put it right into the sim and try the deck out for yourself. Now, as far as Katakuri goes, there's a reason that it gets basically replaced in OP-07. And that reason is what we're going to look at today in these these OP-07 lists that we're seeing pop up in the East. The first list we're going to look at here, I'm going to run through the list in a second, but first I want to talk about the 2 major cards. There are other cards as well, but the 2 major cards that took Enel to the next level is Ace. This card right here, it is a 10 cost, 10,000 power character that has on play, you gain a life, and then if you have 2 or less life still, he gets Rush. Okay, so another way to gain life for Enel to reset his leader effect if you go down to 0, and it has Rush in that case. And then in EB-01, we're getting Rygo, or again, I think it's called Kingdom Come, I think is the technical name for it, or the technical translation. This is the removal that Yellow desperately needed. Well, I don't want to say it desperately needed anything, but you guys know what I'm saying. This is one of the few cards that lacked, that it didn't have an answer for 10 cost characters. You just had to deal with them on the board, or they were just going to deal with you. But now it just says, okay, if I'm at 1 life, I'll just KO any character on the board. And even if you're not at 1 life, this will trash all your cards down to 1 life and let you KO anything that way as well. It's not even really regulated to 1 life. It'll just help you get down to 1 life if you're not there already. And for those who don't remember, that's everything Enel runs off of, right? The leader says when your life hits 0, you may place the top card of your deck to your life and trash a card from your hand. So just really, really powerful. Okay, and then there's one other thing to mention. In OP-07, Reject has been banned. Okay, Reject was a very, very powerful card. Let me show you guys what that was for the people who don't know what it is. It's this card over here. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. Or if your opponent has 1 life card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So it was a 4-cost execute. It just helped close the game out so easily for yellow. And now we're starting to really see that in the East, just how powerful that is. But it's gone in OP-07. That card literally gets banned. And Enel pops up as the new winner for yellow because of these new cards like Ace and Rygo. Just really, really incredible. So I'm going to blast through this list real quick, and then we'll talk about 2 other decks and get into the games. 4 Shirahoshi, excuse me, 4 Katakuri, 4 Charlotte Linlin, the 7 cost, 4 Gangbei, 4 Yamato, 4 Gadatsu, 4 Onami, 4 Sabo, that's an interesting one. Not all decks are running that. 4 Flampy, 4 Frankie, 4 Ace, 2 You're the One Who Should Disappear, and 4 Rygo or Kingdom Come. So we talked about a few of these, and we know most of the rest. There's a few I do want to talk about as well. Frankie's a new card from OP-07. This card is just, you know, this basically replaces Satori. It's a 4-cost 5K. Like, remember, Satori's a 5-cost 5K. He's a 2K counter like Satori. And he has trigger to draw 1 card, and then if you're at 1 or less life cards, play this card. So if you have 1 or less life cards, you can actually, excuse me, if you get this from the trigger to go down to 1 or less life cards, you get a 5K body, you get to draw a card, and then you get to use your leader's effect, right, if you get down to 0. So it's just, it's extremely powerful, like, for what it's doing. What else? We got, you know, Onami is in some of the lists. I think Capone Gangbei is in every list because it just helps you stay so defensive with Enel while also staying super aggressive. Because now the game plan with Enel, and you'll see when we get to the sim videos, the game plan with Enel is just go late game and just run them over with these massive characters like 8,000 power, 9,000 power, 10,000 power. This has become a control deck. And that's one thing I have to say. The theme that I'm getting from OP-07 is control. Because Bonnie had control elements, Foxy had control elements, Enel always had control elements, but now they're taken to the next level with cards like Frankie and Ace, and then from EB01 we get Rygo. So just really good stuff there. Now let's look at the next list. Okay. There we go. Now this one, this is very interesting. It's running a 6-cost 8K just beater, right? This is just a vanilla Charlotte Paraspero beater. Because when you can play this on curve for 6 Dawn, it's massive, right? Like, this is a huge card. This is a massive card to deal with. 8,000 power, like we were saying, remember? 8,000 power on Katakuri, 8,000 power on Charlotte Linlin, 8,000 power on this guy, 9,000 on Yamato, 10,000 on Ace. Of course it runs Ace, you know. And this list isn't too different, though it does introduce the, I'm not sure if the last list had this or not, but this one's running the 2-cost blocker Shirahoshi. And this says, when this character is KO'd by your opponent's effects, place up to 1 card from the top of your deck onto your life. So what it's doing is it's saying, like, you cannot KO this character. You have to let me block with it or I'm going to gain a life. So it worked the same way, right? Like, that's like blocking an attack, but even better for Enel because then you get to, you know, get more triggers. You might get more triggers. Okay. This one's running an one El Thor as well. 3 of the Rygo card. It is running 4 of the Sabos we saw on the other list. 4 Gadatsus. It's running quite a bit of removal if you think about it. Because Gadatsu, Sabo, Katakuri, and Rygo, these are all very solid removal cards. It's running removal from the top of the deck, potentially with Onami. You guys see where this list is going. Very, very potentially powerful. Now, the list we're going to be running today is this 3rd one we're checking out. This got 1st place at a 64-player flagship event. And this list was very spicy, guys. Very interesting. It's running 4 of the Shirahoshi blocker, 4 of the draw card Shirahoshi. And check this out. It's not even running the 7-cost 8K, you know, Charlotte Linlin. It's just running this card. I mean, unless there was some type of error when they transferred the deck information over, it's running a 7-cost 9,000 power 1K counter body. like vanilla body. This card was actually very good in the games I played, because playing it right on turn, what is that, turn 4? Playing it right on turn 4, that's a 9,000 power body. That thing is a lot to deal with. And then later in the game when you're top decking it, or, you know, like getting it from the top or getting it from your life, it's a 1k counter. It's not dead. Like, I think this card was surprisingly good, I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying it should take the place of 7 cost 8k Lin Lin, but who knows? Maybe there's an argument for it, because this list doesn't run it. Does not run the 7 cost Lin Lin, and he got first place in a flagship for a 64 player event. Only 2 Okiku. That's one that we'll talk about at the end of the video. We'll talk about the deck and like some changes to it. But this is one card I would probably change. I would like to go up to 4 of these, because I just think this card is so good. But yeah, again, we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Okay, well that's it for the deck tech, or the analysis of the meta. Let's go ahead and hop into the first game here, guys. The first game is going to be against Red Purple Law. Let me hit play, go full screen. Let me go speed 2x, and let me move my camera over before I forget. Okay, there we go. So guys, like I said, this game is against Law. Let me make sure this is at 2x speed. One thing I have noticed about Enel is the games tend to run pretty long, because it's ultimately a full-on control deck at this point, because of the way you can gain life and take hits, and like you can kind of weigh out and measure out how many hits you want to take. It's pretty awesome. Right here, I'm depriving my opponent of any kind of life here, because I have Gadatsu in hand. I don't want him. I want to be able to wipe any kind of card he puts on the board here with Gadatsu to get value from it. Otherwise, I'll just go late game against him, because I'm not afraid to go late game, right? I'm not afraid to go super, super late game against him. He plays out the 6 cost Blocker Sanji. That card's very powerful. That's a new card coming out for OP-07 as well. It's a 6 cost, 6,000 power blocker. That's also a 2k counter, and it can cost 3 less if you have more than 2 less Dawn than your opponent. I know that sounded weird, but that is how it is. Okay, so he swings in for 5 here, finally, with Zoro. He's decided, okay, now's the time to pull the trigger and put all my characters down and start attacking into my opponent and start flooding the board, so that way, even if I do have removal, it'll be hard for me to deal with everything that's going on here. And that was a monstrous turn, guys. He went Zoro into Beppo, into Kid and Killer. I'm down to 1 life, but look at this card I have on the board here. That's a 9,000 power body that I just smashed into the Kid and Killer. Didn't have to worry about it. I play out Yamato to KO his Dawn production, gain a life. I swing 5 into Zoro, and this guy doesn't play a mistake here. He should have just blocked with Sanji. There was no reason not to block with this Sanji there. But hey, it is what it is. People make mistakes. Okay, 9,000 power into my 9,000 power character. I'm not going to let that go away. He pulls out a Round Table and bottom decks my Yamato. Very solid there. So I play out a Gadatsu and pop his Reiju. And now I'm just going to smash in for 9 and then 8 and then play out my 0 cost blocker. Now, or excuse me, my 2 cost 0 power blocker. Against Red Purple Law, that Shirahoshi is not great, right? Because they can just bottom deck that anytime they want with their leader's effect. But it's still a blocker. It is still something he has to do. He has to respond to that in some way. So he goes double max raise there, so minus 6,000, my 9,000 power character. So now it's a 3k that he can deal with. And I'm like, okay, I can't do anything about that. He plays out Zoro, plays out a Shiraya, swings 6 into my leader. I take it. I get a Shirahoshi trigger, which is massive. I trash the Raigo Kingdom Comes, or whatever they're called, because I don't really need that, right? I don't really need that. I take the hit here. I'm daring him to swing with his Sanji. I want him to go sideways with that Sanji. He doesn't fall for it. So you know, we go next turn there. But that just acted as a life cycle for me, right? There was no reason to not do that. So 5 into Zoro. He uses the Sanji correctly this time. 6 into Zoro. He 2Ks out of it. I play out Katakuri here and put my Shirahoshi on the top of my life. This is a nightmare situation, guys. That combination of playing out an 8 cost, 8,000 power Katakuri body, and gaining a life that's a Shirahoshi trigger is the absolute nightmare situation for your opponent. I don't know the statistics on it, but I would not be surprised that if an Enel gets off this combo here of like repeating Shirahoshis with Katakuri trigger, or repeating Shirahoshi triggers with Katakuri effects, I bet their win percentage at that point is like 90+%, because you're generating so much value at that point. Look at my hand now, guys. I've got Katakuri, another Katakuri in hand. I've got Ace. I've got quite a bit of 2K counters, 2 Frankies and a Flampy. I've got 2 0 cost events. I'm probably gonna have to trash those because, you know, I just need to get other things. And, okay, here we go. So I've got an 8K, a 10K on the board. He has no life. He does have a full board. He does have a full board here, but he is on 0 life. He has to do something. The red-purple law player has to do something here to try and win the game or try to deal with my board. But think about it. Just to attack one of my characters, he would have to invest half of his Dawn into doing that. Okay, I'm just countering out 2K. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll just go through. And then he just quits. Because at that point, it really is kind of over. It's like, I just blocked 3 of your attacks. Now you have to get through with 3 more attacks. And it's just not realistic. And I've got 2 life. You guys know how it is. Absolute uphill battle from there. I do think Enel's pretty highly favored into red-purple law, though, just to be fair to my opponent there. Okay, next game, we got Enel versus Ivanov. Let me make sure we're on 2x speed. I've been seeing a lot of blue decks pop up on the sim lately for OP-07 format, the East format, and they seem pretty strong. But I just think they need a better, 8-drop and higher character. Like for example, right now black decks have 8-cost Gecko Moria. Yellow decks have quite a few cards between Yamato, Katakuri, and Ace, and Tinlin if you're running a Charlotte Linland Big Mom Pirates deck. Red has Newgate and even like. You know, even that Rush Luffy is very powerful. Green has 8-cost Kid, 10-cost Dofi. Purple has a bunch of different versions of Kaido. Purple could probably use another better 8-cost card as well that has a different theme. But blue, I just feel like doesn't really have anything to drop late game. Like Mihawk's okay. The 10-cost Kaido is okay, but it's not really something that really threatens you, right? It's like, okay, they got to draw a bunch of cards, but I can just indefinitely like block that card if I have enough blockers. Okay, so back to the game, guys. Sorry about that. I have to hard cast my Kikinojo this game because he got it from my top life when he still had 4 or 5 life left. So I'm going to go ahead and play out my blocker here. I try to eat up the board a little bit. I'm trying to stay somewhat aggressive. The new card that all blue decks are running, and they should be running, is Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger, and also Pudding. You have to be careful against both of those. Pudding is devastating if it hits the right time, and so is Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger. And there you go. That's why. Gravity Blade, Raging Tiger takes out my 2 cards that had on KO effects, right? They were supposed to be protected. Or, excuse me, it's sort of on KO effect with the Shirahoshi. That's if it gets KO'd from an effect. But that's okay. We're going to swing 6 here. If you got 7 Dawn, we're just going to play out a massive body, a 7-cost 9K. When I saw this version of Enel, I had to try it because of that character right there. Guys, that's a 7-cost 9,000 power body. Like, that thing is massive. It's vanilla. It's not like a special card or anything, but it has such great momentum to it. Okay, I take that life, and he absolutely punishes me with a Pudding. Unfortunate, but hey, it happens. It's the risk you have to take, right? It's the risk you run by playing Enel. Is you can't really get rid of your cards fast enough from hand unless you aggressively counter out. Which maybe I should have done looking back, right? There's always room for improvement. So I smash in for 6, smash in for 9, and then I play out my Yamato to KO his Inazuma. I'm actually in pretty good position here. He's down now. He is down to 3 cards, and that's what makes the leader Ivanov so strong. Is going down to 0 cards, you go back up to 2, right? That's very nice. Smash is in for 8. I'm like, okay. I got Frankie here, so here's that new card. I get the trigger to draw a card, then I activate my leader effect. I trash out the 0-cost event to gain my life back. And again, I'm kind of challenging him, like, hey, if you want to swing everything in with your Dofi, go ahead, like, be my guest, because it won't matter, right? Because I'll just gain the life back with my Yamato. Okay, so right here, I want to see what he gives me. Now, remember, Ivanov does want to counter pretty aggressively, because they want to get down to 0 cards in hand. So I go 5 into Pudding, see what he gives me. Gives me a 2K counter. Okay, now I think I go 6 into what's your name, Pudding here, but I could be wrong. Just 5, see if I get more 2K counters out of hand. It's fine with me. And now I go 9 into it. He's obviously not going to counter out of that. Then I Raigo to take out his Inazuma character. That new 6-cost 7K character he had on the board is extremely good. Because it says, I think it's like, and then he just quit on me. So, hang on, guys. Sorry. Let me go back to right here. After I took that character, he just kind of quit. But that character, it was probably his win condition. He was expecting to just draw cards and draw cards and draw cards, not expecting yellow to have any kind of removal. But now that we have that card, guys, Yellow is putting down a lot of characters with removal, and a lot of characters that are big bodies, and a lot of characters that are gaining life. It's a theme now. You're either gaining life, removing characters, or playing a big body, or a combination of both. Okay, so right here, playing against Dofi, this might be the craziest game I've ever had in my entire time playing One Piece. This game, I'm not going to spoil it too much, just know that this one's wild. So he starts off with the 3-cost Dofi that can kind of do the leader's effect. And I noticed there, like, wait a minute, you didn't set your top card, and you just used that character's effect to gain a card from your hand. Then he plays out Jinbei, which plays out Gecko Moria, and now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this guy is running one of the, probably the best meme build I could have ever imagined. I think he's just running a core of 90+%, 4-cost and lower Warlords of the Sea card, or 7 Warlords cards, where he can just constantly, look at that, he just randomly did that character's effect and played out a Doflamingo. So he is just going to fill the board out this game by just playing off the top of his deck. Well, bad news for him is, being Enel, I can kind of actually deal with that, right? I can actually kind of deal with that. I get Jinbei off the top, or excuse me, he gets Jinbei off the top, plays out a Boa Hancock. He's got a full board here, guys, and this is going to be a common theme of this game. I have to constantly, I can't race him, right? There's no way I'm going to be able to race him. I need to keep battling for board control. It's my only chance, and that's what this game becomes, is an absolute bloodbath. This becomes an absolute brawl for board control. 6 into 5 here. I was very grateful that thing went down. I have to play Katakuri out here defensively. Well, I guess offensively, where I push back his character. I was going to say defensively because I take his character away, but I think defensively would be like me putting my character up on top. Who knows? 2K counter out of that. He swung 7 into my Gidatsu. And it's like, oh man, right now I knew that this game was going to be wild. Swing 7 into my Gidatsu, 7 into 6. I have to let it go because I don't have a good way to counter that. I've got to, I wonder if I was going to say I should use the 1K here, and now it's my turn. This is where the sustain of Enel is so incredible, guys. It is absolutely incredible, because watch what I do here, okay? In this situation, I was going to say, I need to save cards like, you'd think like, oh, just play out the, what's it called? Just play out the Yamato. That would not have been the right play there, because I need to save every way I can gain life and use it to gain life in this matchup. Because watch this, guys. He's down to 2 cards. Swing 8, swing 8. He keeps fighting me on board, and I can't win that fight every time. Swing 6. I have to take it. He plays out another Doflamingo that gets more board presence. And I will say this, guys. This deck he's running is really cool and really interesting. I don't know how viable it is because of, I don't think it's running many events. I think it's running Perfume Femur, and that might be it. And everything else is a 4-cost or lower 7 Warlords of the Sea character. So I'm popping cards as much as I can, making sure to gain life with my Yamatos. 8 into my 8. Again, I have to pick and choose wisely what I counter out of. And right here, since I knew he could not KO it, I actually aggressively countered out of that. I have no counter in hand, right? I've got a 1K counter in hand. But with Enel, you can kind of be aggressive like that because of the way your life gain functions. But we smash in here. He gives me that. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what he gives me here. I'm going to attack into him. I don't want to use my Yamatos. I can't stress that enough. I do not want to use Yamato unless I can actually gain life from it, or unless it's to take out a character I absolutely need to take out. So my board's getting strong here, finally. I finally have developed a board that can start, generating profit. I can start profiting from and getting some advantage from. So here we go. Yep, swinging 9 into that 5, and then I'm going to go everything else face. And you better believe it, guys. Like this right here, I'm actually going to... I was thinking about Raigoing right there, but I would have lost life. So I was like, nope, let me not lose any life. I don't have to lose this game. And notice how many cards he's gone through. This game, I almost milled him out of this game, guys. And we're on turn 9, by the way. Like, you'll see at the end of this game, I think he was down to like single-digit cards in his deck. Okay, I get a beige trigger. It doesn't matter right there. Okay, I'm down to 1 life. Now I can use my Yamato again. So smash into everything he has on the board. Just keep smashing, keep smashing. Okay, so he does that, and I'm like, okay, Yamato to care of that, 6 into his Gecko Moria. And you see how this back and forth, this, like I said, this was one of the craziest games that I had ever taken place in this game. Okay, right here, he's going to have to, I'm going to make him swing everything into here, and I'm going to use up whatever I have to in hand to try to save these cards. Because it's constantly a battle for board presence, just at all times. So 8 into 5, 9 into 6, 9 into 5. Play out Gadatsu to pop his guy, and we're coming in for 10. Finally, it's like at this point, I finally was like starting, like wiping the sweat off my brow. Like, okay, I think I'm going to win this game. I finally have some control of the game here. I can't defend that. I didn't have any counter in hand. Now, right here, I'm just going to take out that law at however I have to do it. Okay, took it out in the first swing. So now I can start going for, actually going for life here. Swinging 8 into 5. He 2K's out. 9, he takes it. 9, he takes it. And right here, I was really debating. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice the life here. I'm going to get a full board here, so that way he cannot, keep eating up my board the way he's been doing. He's going to be able to get one character if he wants to, because I have one card in hand, and I can't even use it without another card. But I knew he couldn't take my last life. That was like the main thing. Excuse me. 10 into 8, he's going to get that. Now I get a Shirahoshi here. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. I still have to keep fighting for this board. Like, there is no way around it. It's just constantly a battle for the board. I want to play Shirahoshi here, so I'm doing some math on this. Like, okay, how can I play out Shirahoshi, and still get some good attacks in? But I was like, wait a minute. What if I draw a card I want to play off Shirahoshi, and look what I get. I get the 2-cost Mermaid. So, or the other 2-cost Shirahoshi. So 7 into 5, he's got to give me some cards for that. 7 into 5 again, he's got to give me the blocker or his last life or 2 cards from that. He gives me 3 cards. He gives me 3 cards. And then I play out the blocker. Now, finally, look at that. I just moused over his deck there. 11 cards left in the deck right now. 2K counter out of that. I'm going to make him swing in. Now I'm going to use the blocker. That's fine. And now I can finally... And then I finally got my first ace of the game, by the way. I believe this is my first ace I got this entire game. It was so... It was crazy not getting that card, because that card is extremely strong. I probably could have gone for game this turn. Like, let me say that. I think if I had gone like 9, 9, 11, I think is what I could have gone there. 4, 3, 2, I don't know, something like that. I probably could have done that. But it's like, you know what? Let me do it this way. I think it's a little bit safer. I don't think it was actually safer. Like, after looking at it, I was like, wait a minute. I probably should have just gone 9, 9, 11 there. Or whatever that ended. It might have been 9, 10, 11, or 10, 10, 12, something along those lines. Okay, he takes out my ace, and that's why this was so dangerous. It's like, wait a minute. I can't even save my guys because I have no cards in hand. I can't even bluff it. But he only has 1 blocker and 0 life. So 9 into life, and now 12 into life. GG. That game was wild, guys. Absolutely wild. Good game, though. That was a fun one there. Okay, last but not least here, we got Dr. Vegapunk. This leader, I think he still needs a little bit of support. It's kind of like Foxy, the Foxy Pirates. These are 2 brand new themes, right? 2 brand new types or archetypes, or I think they're just called types in the game, where it's like Egghead it's a new thing, and just like Foxy Pirates is for One Piece TCG. So once they get a little more support, I think they'll be a little bit better. So I just play out and I will show the list at the end of the video. I just play out this 5-cost 6K on turn 1 with his effect. That's massive. You know what I mean? Like, playing that on turn 1, that's just extremely, extremely good, especially if you're going first. Now from here, I'm just trying to get a little bit of board control. That Egghead event is very nice, or excuse me, the Egghead stage. It's a 2-cost stage. You can play it from life if you get the trigger, but it lets you at the end of your turn set up to one of your characters as active. I think it has to be an Egghead type character. I can't remember exactly, but it's pretty good. Let me make sure we're on 2x speed here. Yeah, we are. Okay. So I'll explain real quick for those who don't know what's going on. My leader cannot attack. Dr. Vegapunk is a leader that cannot attack. However, he has an extremely powerful effect. You pay 1 once per turn, activate main, pay 1, and you can put a card that costs 5 or less, that is Egghead. That's an Egghead type card. It might be Egghead or Scientist, but I think it's an Egghead type card, either into play or on top of your life. So it is a very, very powerful effect here. So swing 8 into Rebecca. This is probably not a great matchup for Rebecca, but maybe it is. I don't know, because, again, you never know how good your opponent is on these sim games. So smashing in for 8. I've gotten down to 3 life. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Because remember, these are 2 leaders that cannot attack. This is going to be about, you know, establishing board control and all that good stuff. And another thing I will say about this list is I just made this list up. I didn't really use a list. I didn't go off of any list from any tournaments. And I'll show you how I made it at the end. I mean, I just straight up copied, you know, or not even copied. I just typed in Egghead under the types for the sim and just filled out the deck with just that. So this room has this deck has plenty of room for improvement. It has plenty of room for improvement. Okay, so the Rebecca's going to play out Sabo here. I put a Nico Robin on the top of my life. This card is a trigger, draw 2 cards. So you'll trash it and draw 2 cards. It's kind of like their version of Sanji's Pilaf. Like, okay, he's going to swing there. I'm going to take it, activate trigger, draw 2 cards. You know, and now let's see what else he wants to do. He wisely does not swing out with his Orlumbus, because I would you know, send both my guys into that with like 7 or 8k attacks easily. So right here I get this other card here. Let me put my glasses on. I don't remember all their names. You know, that's for sure. Atlas. This card that you see in the very first card of my hand on the far right, Atlas, that's a 5-cost 6,000 power character. That's a 1k counter, and it has, if you have 1 or less life cards, or 2 or less life cards, she cannot be KO'd in battle. Something along those lines. So very powerful card there. Then I set the top card of my deck to Nico Robin, and I leave 1 Dawn active for this event here. This is a 1-cost 3,000 power event, like a 1 cost 3,000 power counter. So pretty nice card there to defend my stuff if I need to. But I do want to take about 1 life every turn, right? Like generally speaking, I am trying to take 1 life every single turn. So they hit me with a Gravity Blade Raging Tiger there. That card, like I said, if you're running blue and you're not running Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, you're probably building your deck wrong. Not in every situation. There are some situations where I'm sure it's fine. But that card is extremely powerful. Okay, and now I have a 5-cost card in my hand, and this 3-cost card you see here. Lilith is like the deck's searcher. It's like a souped-up pair of Sparrow for Vegapunk. And one thing I should also mention is a lot of these trigger cards from Egghead, they put the card right into play. Like that Edison card that I just put on top, the little green robot on the top of my life. He's a 4-cost 5k with a 2k counter, and he has on play, draw 2, trash 2, and his trigger is play this card if your leader is Vegapunk. So there it is right there. If you have 2 or less life cards, draw 2, trash 2. Very, very solid interaction there with the leader. So he KO'd my guy there with Stussy, however you say that character's name. That card's very good. I actually like that quite a bit in Rebecca. I think that's a good addition. But I still think Kuzan is probably a little bit better. I personally would just be running Kuzan in the place of Stussy, because it's a 10-cost 10k. It's 1 cost more for 1,000 power more, and it's just a constant -5 across the board. Because this turn he could have KO'd a 9 or less by using Orlumbus with the Kuzan, but still a very good card. Okay, so I play out I played out the Edison from the trigger effect there. Somehow he got my Atlas off the board. Or maybe I countered out with it. I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, guys. But right here, I'm just going to start smashing in, start whittling down his hand size. And while Vegapunk is very good at using that 1-cost effect to either cheat a character into play really cheap or put a card in your life, I think you should almost always be using it to put a card into life, unless, it's early in the game. If it's early on, in like turn 1 or turn 2, you could cheat a card into play while you still have 2 life, then it makes sense. And once you get later in the game, you can actually start playing out all these 5-cost cards from your hand. Just hard casting them instead of cheating them in with the Vegapunk effect. I will say, I think this leader has a lot of potential. All right, he played out Luffy. That's pretty scary for me, actually. He does have Court of Coliseum down, so I can't really stop him from swinging in. He's going to come in for 8 at my blocker there. I'm going to finally get to use my 1-cost 3k counter. That was nice. Now he's going to have to, put 7 cards from his trash at the bottom of his deck to restand a character. And I can counter out of wherever he swings because I have a 2k and a 2k in hand. But it's going to come down to if I want to. And yeah, in that case, I actually do want to. Excuse me. But I only have 1 card left in hand to protect my guys. So he's going to swing 9 into a 5. I'm going to let that go. I'm not going to block that. Now he's going to swing 5 into 5, and it's like, okay, I still have this 6,000 power blocker named, what's his name, Shaka or something? I'm not exactly sure what his name is. Okay, so he swings 5 in there. I'm going to block out with that card, with that blocker. I prefer him attack my life, right? That's the main thing I'm going for is him to attack into my life. But, you know, he's smart. He's being smart about it, and he's saving stuff. So I 2K there. Right there, he should have actually swung in with a Sabo because I had 0 cards left. Because think about it. Yes, he'll lose his blocker, you know, in a way, but I lose another character to attack with, which is the same thing as, you know, the same predicament with the blocker as before. Okay, but since he didn't do that, I'm going to swing in for 8. He takes it, so I'm like, okay, we're going to go 9 and 9. Okay, or not, yeah, 9 and 9. So swing in for 9 here, and let's see what happens. And unfortunately for him, he had nothing but bricks in hand. Just straight bricks. 4 cards in hand that had no counter, and he only had 3 1Ks to try and get out of that, so he couldn't do it. But the reason I left 1 Dawn open is I did not expect to win that turn. I really thought I was dead meat there. So I was going to, at the end of my turn, pay 1 to use my Vegapunk's ability to put this card on top of my life. So then I'd have a blocker coming into play, and then an Edison, and then Lilith. So really good stuff there. And at the end of the turn, remember, I can stand up 1 card because of the Egghead stage. Excuse me. Really good stuff there. All right, guys, so now let's go ahead and check out the decks, and that'll pretty much be a wrap there. Sorry, I know this video has gone on for a little bit long today, but really cool stuff from Yellow. Yellow's looking very, very promising in OP-07. So this is the Enel list I was running, and we already looked at it. This is the one from the tournament. I'm running 4 of this card. I do think you can probably go down to like 2 of these and 2 of the 7 cost 8,000 power Lin that makes them draw, or they either trash a life or let you gain a life. But at the same time, excuse me, this card is bigger for the same cost, and it's a 1K counter in hand. I do really like this card. I had mixed feelings about it for a little bit, but after seeing it in action, in this deck in particular, so powerful. Kikinojo, insane. Gadatsus, Katakuris, Yamatos, Aces, Raigos. You're just removing everything and then playing these like really, really strong 2K counters like Frankie, and where's the other one? Beige. Flampy. You have ways to draw your own life if you need to, and then you have ways to get characters into play, or like, you know, with Kikinojo and Frankie from your life, Shirahoshi. Capone Gang Beige is pretty good as well, but man, in this list, the way you're constantly KOing their characters with like Yamato, Gadatsu, pushing them back with Katakuri, or running into them with Ace, I almost think that the Beige was almost like a win more card in a deck like this, but we'll have to see. I'll have to do more testing. It's very good. And you're running a lot of bricks in your hand, like 4 Yamatos, 4 Katakuri, 4 Ace, 4, well, I was going to say 4 Kikinojo, but no, only 2 Kikinojo. And that is quite a few bricks. And then, of course, 4 Raigos as well. But running 4 of these was nice, and it's a great card to get as your last trigger if you ever get lucky enough to get that, which it does happen, right? There's a chance for that to happen, especially as you're cycling through your life cards with this leader's effect. So just to summarize how this deck works, guys, notice there is no early game for you. Like, even, yeah, you can play this card early on, but it's and you can play this card early on, but it's really about just denying them any board by not even attacking into their life, popping whatever they play with Gadatsu, popping anything they play with Yamato, bouncing what you need to, whether it's your cards or their cards with your Katakuri, and then at the end of the game, you know, take your life aggressively, let them attack into you all they want to, and then you start gaining life. Like, you start gaining life with your Ace, your Yamato, your Katakuri. It's just, this deck is functioning very well. Big fan of this one. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to look at Vegapunk here. Excuse me. Like I said, guys, this is a straight up, here's how I made this list. Let me show you guys. Here's how I made the deck. What's it called? No, Egghead. I typed in Egghead, clicked Yellow, there's my deck right there. Now, some cards I did not run. Like, I didn't think this Chopper card was that good. I didn't think this card was that good either. A card named Pythagoras. This card I did want to try because, just so everyone knows, you know, this Vegapunk can only play up to 1 cost 5 or less card with Egghead type from your hand face up on top of your life or into play. So, like, this card is actually good to throw in life if you need to, or to cheat into play early on. But even if you can't cheat into play early on, excuse me, it becomes a really nice turn 2 play on the draw. Really good stuff there. Atlas was pretty good. And there's, like I said, there is a lot of room for improvement in this deck, guys. Like, this card wasn't great. Jinbei wasn't great, but it did have a trigger to bounce back a 4-cost or lower character to the opponent's hand. And then you still add this card to your hand. You don't lose any advantage there. You don't lose any card advantage. So really good stuff there. Atlas was... I need to playtest more to see how good this card is, but on paper this seems very good. Usopp's just a 2K counter. Edison's a really high-value 2K counter with the way that he can play himself and draw cards in the process. Let me move my... I just thought about that, guys. Sorry, I got to move my face so y'all can actually see the cards over there. My apologies. This blocker guy, Shaka was his name. Very, very strong. And again, notice how these triggers read, guys. Trigger, if your leader is Vegapunk, play this card. Trigger, if your leader is Vegapunk, play this card. Yeah, this one bounces back to hand. This one, if you have 1 or less life, play this card. This one, now Luffy I didn't get in the match, but this card's very good. I'll be playing this in black-yellow Luffy as well. But KO up to 1 of your opponent's 4-cost or lower characters, and then activate main, you can do that, and draw a card if your life is 2 or less. This card was fine, but I actually think that it probably should have just been this Vega Force 1 card. Because I was just looking for a cheap, 6K body to get down, because this triggers if your leader has the type Egghead, rest up to 1 of your opponent's leader or characters. I don't know. I guess that's not bad if you think about it. If they have like a really big character on their side of the board, and so that way they can either swing with their leader or their character, you'll rest the other. So maybe this card does need to stay. The stage was great. These as 3-ups felt pretty good. I got them when I needed them, and this is just a top 5 searcher for Egghead stuff. Right, guys, I'm done rambling. That's really about it. I don't have nothing more to say. Like I said, I know today's video ran pretty long, but yellow, man, Enel looks very strong going into OP-07, but we've seen Bonnie, we've seen some of these other decks, we've seen Lucci. OP-07 looks like it's going to be a very fun format. I can't wait to get into it. Right, guys, if you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to list them down in the comment section below, and please do not forget to like and subscribe if you've not already, and until next time, guys, peace.